So quickly, we're going to go through tables, which are going to be the most important part of data science because data science, think about it, data science. It's a science of data, and how do we organize data? Well, we organize it in tables. So once you learn this, you're pretty much going to be using these throughout the rest of the semester and onwards. And if you ever do stuff with Python, you'll be very familiar with tables. So first of all, when we start anything, the most important part is running this right here. All these import blanks. What they do is they make it so that our computer knows what to do. Like for example, let's just say we're doing like np.average of something. Well, if you don't tell the computer import numpy as np, it's going to say, okay, what the heck does np.average mean? So remember that this is kind of like saying, okay, we're importing a language. You can now speak numpy. So we got that down, and there's a couple of basic rules of tables that I'd like to go over that I think are pretty much the most essential parts of knowing how to operate tables. So first we have, if they're imported, they're always going to be referenced to as a string. So we have table.readTable, worldpopulation.csv, and down here, if we see this, if that pops up, it's called worldpopulation.csv. So over here, if we see table.readTable, it's that CSV file or common separate file, and it'll be, as a string, as a word. So you'll see that, and that's how we import a table from a foreign source. Second, tables are composed of columns and rows, both of which can be manipulated. So in case you're not too familiar, remember that a column goes downwards and a row goes sideways. You'll be very familiar with that if you ever study like the periodic table. So all columns have to have the same number of data points, right? Which is very important. So right here, we just made a table. We have this table previously, so world population, and we just gave it a second column called count. And what I did here is a little clever thing where we did np.arrange by 0 to num rows. And if we do that, we're going to get an array of 0 to the number of rows that we have with the count or with the computer counting starting at 0. So right here, this thing works. Now, if you know how to use np.arrange, down here we're starting with 1. And computers don't start counting with 1, and they start counting with 0. So if we did this, the count column would have one less data point than the population column or array value. And as a result, you're going to end up with an error. So that is manipulating, this is columns, and here's rows. So here's like a sample table that I just made, random colors, random numbers, just like we'll just consider them attribution values. Now, what we could do is we can tack on rows sideways by inputting a row, and a row comes in brackets. So if you look up here, we can tack on columns. Like if table X is this, we could do table X with column and a new column, or we could just take a table and tack on a full row of data. Now remember, if you do a row of data, obviously you're probably going to want the same number of data points. So here we have a color listed, a number listed. If we have a third data point, this table would kind of not know what to do. For number 3, table commands take data in pairs, with the title being as a string and the array that follows being able to be anything. So we have X first, that'd be a string value, then a Y. Y can be anything, but it's an array. X, Y, X, Y, it goes back and forth, back and forth. It could be any number, but it has to be in pairs. So right here, we have a table with columns, X, title, and an array, 1, 2, 3. Title, integer, array, 1, 2, 3. Or if we do floats, title, then a set of float values. Notice all 3 of these have 3 values. Now we can use code to manipulate the data, which is the data part in data science.